In 1917, the Canadian military had a victory at Vimy Ridge. In 1921, the first woman was elected into the House of Commons. This was also the first election that women had the right to vote. In 1930, Pablum was created. In 1945, Canada joined the United Nations. In 1956, peacekeeping methods used at the Zeus Crisis created a ceasefire agreement. In 1965, Canada's independent flag was created. In 1969, English and French became Canada's official languages. In 1917, Canada won the battle at Vimy Ridge, in which the opponents, Germany, had a much larger advantage by being up on a big ridge that needed our soldiers to run up in order to reach the Germans. To train for the attack, General Arthur Currie made the soldiers run drills on a replica of the ridge and gave the soldiers maps that showed their goals. He formulated a perfectly timed attack that allowed the Canadian military to take back Vimy Ridge from the Germans. Although the death toll at Vimy Ridge was a high 4,000 men, it was nothing in comparison to the failed attempts of Britain and France, who lost more than 150,000 men. This showed to other countries how capable of battle we are and how skilled our national defense is. The victory at Vimy Ridge brought a sense of pride and identity to Canada because it showcased our exemplary military and put our national independence into the spotlight. In 1921, Agnes MacPhail was elected into the House of Commons, making her the first woman to be elected into the House of Commons. This election was also the first election that women had the right to vote. Women in the early 1900s had a lot less rights than women today have. So being the first woman elected into the House of Commons and women being allowed to vote in their first election was a massive achievement for women in 1921. When Agnes MacPhail was elected, it destroyed the sexist barriers of the certain careers that were for women and the ones that were for men. This helped show gender equality to not only all of Canada, but to the entire world. In 1930, Pablum was created. Pablum is a type of baby food that contains vitamins, minerals, and other nutrients that babies need in order to grow. The invention of Pablum has positively affected the lives and health of infants all around the world. Pablum is still being eaten to this day by a substantial amount of infants. It is significant to Canada's history because it is a revolutionary Canadian-made invention that has helped give children the nutrients they need to be healthy and fight away diseases. Canada joined the United Nations in 1945 and since then have helped create the United Nations Declaration of Human Rights and established many peacekeeping initiatives. Joining the UN has showed Canada's dedication to peace and problem-solving ideas at an international level, which has helped develop what Canada's identity is today. In 1956, Canada became widely known as a peacekeeping country because of Lester B. Pearson's United Nations peacekeeping proposal. The Zeus Crisis was started when the president of Egypt took a very anti-Israeli stand, causing tension between Egypt and Israel. The conflict was started by Israel after Egypt's president stated that he wanted to take over the Suez Canal. This was a problem because the canal was significant to the British Empire due to the fact that it was used to access the British colonies. Through the canal, Britain would go to their colonies, take some of the resources, then get back to England as fast as possible to sell the resources. Without the British Empire having this canal, it could have demolished the economy everywhere in Europe. So Lester B. Pearson proposed that the United Nations send a large team of peacekeepers from countries that are not a part of the conflict. Once there was a ceasefire agreement, the United Nations peacekeepers were sent to the canal, allowing Israel and their allies, Britain and France, to extract their military forces without looking like they were defeated. This is a large part of Canadian history because Lester B. Pearson showed that to end a conflict, you do not need to use brute force, but you can use peaceful tactics instead. Due to these events, Canada is now known as a peacekeeping country. Lester B. Pearson then became the Prime Minister of Canada and was awarded the Nobel Peace Prize for his actions in the Suez Crisis. In 1965, the present Canadian flag was created. This flag was created to please all Canadians because the former flag, known as the Canadian Red Ensign, alongside the Union Jack, were unliked by many Quebecois, while the English Canadians seemed to prefer the Red Ensign. So by creating a new flag, it gave Canada a sense of independence and identity by getting rid of a flag that some felt didn't represent them, then creating a new one that represented and was favored by all Canadians. The Government of Canada created an initiative that requires that they give away the flags flown at Parliament Hill to the citizens of Canada. These flags are so popular that there's at least a 40-year wait list to get your hands on one of these flags. It just goes to show how well liked this new design of the Canadian flag truly is. In 1969, en 1969, the Official Languages Act was created, making Canada a bilingual country. This means that English and French had officially become our national languages. This is so significant to Canada because now people learn French in grade 4. Also, there are many all-French schools in Canada, as well as many programs such as Extended French. Being a bilingual country is an enormous part of our Canadian identity because it allows more diversity within Canada due to less language barriers.